Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution from the ERP community. And today we have a solution called Aptean bcFood. We have had the series of food, I guess. So today we have bcFood. They are also from Aptean. So we are going to touch on this from many different perspectives, including comparing other solutions in the Aptean portfolio. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intros. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, I am going to move to Andy for his intro.
Thank you, Sam. My name is Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for small to mid-sized manufacturers for all my life. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, but I lived in the US for 10, 11 years. And I've worked with manufacturers all over North America, over 1,000 for sure. And I also have a published book that helps companies uncover the truth about ERP systems before they buy. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the show today.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, make sure you guys post your questions and comments. We typically try to cover them during the show. If you run out of time, then we will make sure you receive your answers or Andy's jokes. I don't know what you are going to get, but you'll get something from us.
You get something.
You'll get something from us. Okay, so this one, Aptean bcFood. And Andy, I mean, we have discussed a lot of different solutions from Aptean. I don't know how many are left now. Obviously, they are acquiring.
The list goes on and on. It's like,
they probably now have the longest list. I mean, N4 used to be the top, I would say, overall in terms of the solutions that they used to carry. But now probably it is Aptean. They have broken record for pretty much everybody in the market, including ECI, Appicore. They have acquired a lot as well.
I'm not sure if any of them are in a race to who has the most quantity of products, because I'm not sure that's something you want to brag about, but you could be right, Sam.
Yeah. And maybe somebody is bragging about that. I don't know. You can brag about pretty much anything in the ERP community, right? As long as some
we
number
have
that's
more
big
products than everybody else.
Right?
So doesn't that cost you a lot for R&D and diversification and strategy? And go ahead, Sam. Show us your stuff.
Any big number is supposed to be good, Andy. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it is negative.
That's what Sage says, right? Because it depends on the number. It's better. The bigger the number.
Yeah. I mean, their numbering scheme is definitely very interesting, the way they like to number. I don't know how much they are following. On that note, let's discuss on this one. So bcFood is very interesting, and the reason and what Aptean has done overall from their corporate strategy in acquiring these add-ons. And by the way, this is also BC add-on, and that's why it is actually called bcFood. Which makes a lot of sense. Just Food was also Business Central add-on. So what they have done is they have tried to monopolize the market in the Business Central community. So obviously they have their own food product that can be standalone ERPs, and then they have acquired a lot of different add-ons on top of Business Central. Business Central in general was very successful in the food market just because of these add-ons. Business Central as such does not have the process manufacturing capabilities or the food-centric capabilities, but just because of these add-ons, it was really, really successful. And Aptean in general, they like to target either the DTC market or food and beverage, that's where their majority of the products are. There are some products which are going to be in the discrete manufacturing, for example, made to manage. Accenta is more in the apparel and retail space, but for the most part, the majority of the acquisitions that they have done are really very food and beverage and DTC centric. And that's why they wanted to actually monopolize this market as well. And that's why bcFood. Now, when you compare bcFood with just food, and by the way, there is another layer that I want to actually touch on when I compare the bcFood as well as just food. So, Andy, I don't know how much you know about the food space overall. In the food space as well, there are many different layers. Okay, so when you talk about, let's say, just the food distribution, it's a very different space. If you compare all of the solutions that are targeted, let's say, for food and beverage verticals, for example, let's say Aptean Ross, okay, Aptean Process Pro, as well as then they have Aptean Just Food and bcFood. I think they could be very confusing in general.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so the clear differentiator are going to be, one are these two, the Ross and Process Pro. They are more of the standalone ERP solution than Just Food and bcFood. They are the add-on on top of Business Central. Now, when you look at the even the just purely from the industry perspective, I don't think they would like to position either Ross or Process Pro for the markets that are covered by bcFood, and that's why they have these add-ons as well as the products that they are carrying. For the most part, if you look at the data model as well as the product architecture of your bcFood product, the interesting layer that it has is it's targeted for growers. Okay, and growers have very different needs than your pure play distributors. So
Right.
when you get into the patches such as your agriculture as well as grower, that's a very different space in general. So none of the products that we have reviewed so far are probably going to be fit for the grower. Now, in general, Microsoft does very well in the agriculture space because they compete head to head with Sage, and Sage is very strong in agriculture in general. They were always very strong just because of the compliance requirements, just because of the accounting requirements that you're going to have for the agriculture. Sage was always very good, and Microsoft was very good as well, and that's they had many different products. So that's where this whole concept is coming from, why bcFood has a lot more grower functionality, and they require very unique capabilities. If you don't have those capabilities supported as part of your out of the box ERP capabilities, most likely your ERP system is going to struggle. So these are very similar capabilities as you are going to require, let's say, for not for profit. These are similar capabilities. The DST accounting is very similar as well. There's a very different accounting methodology for a very specific industry. In this particular case, this is called grower accounting, and we are going to see layers of how grower accounting differs from the other patches. And that's why, again, it's a very small niche from
Very targeted market.
very targeted market. You require training and the certification. If you're a CPA, if you want to consult in this space, for example, let's say if you compare this with construction also require very specific CPA training if you are practicing in the construction market. So if you look at, and the best way to understand the ERP market is going to be, okay, understand how CPA curriculum is structured, because that drives the ERP market as well. So in the CPA curriculum, you are going to have the construction track. You are going to have a little bit of grower track. You are going to have not for profit track. So these are very unique accounting tracks that CPAs have to go through if they are going to be practicing in these industries. But let's say if they are not from these industries, then you can live with the plain vanilla accounting standards. Obviously there are some layers in the professional services space as well when you get into the ASC 606 as well as the subscription based business models. Then it gets into very different space as well. But grower accounting is very unique. That's why there are only very few solutions in the market that can support the needs of growers. And that's where your canvas is going to be handy as well. Okay, when you look at the cannabis space, the whole idea of cannabis was to support the needs of the growers. In general, when you look at the grower market, there are going to be three different entities that are going to be prevalent. Number one is going to be grower, number two are going to be processors, and number three are going to be retailers. These three are very different businesses. They require very different capabilities. BC Food is going to be relevant when you are going to be looking at your grower market as well as your processor market, but it's not going to be as great fit for the retailer. Sometimes if the business is going to be significantly vertically integrated, in general BC as a product can support your retailer market. It has all the bells and whistles that a retailer is going to require. But let's say if a business combines all three, then obviously this is going to be a great fit. Your just food may not be as great fit because that is not going to have the layers for the growers. So that's a real difference. Andy, any comments there?
No, that's looking forward to it.
Okay, the competing solutions in this space are going to be Sage X3 is very strong in agriculture. They are going to have that functionality. Microsoft BC is obviously strong. That's why it is here. And then I think you are going to have the Microsoft Dynamics FNO as well. They are going to have these capabilities because Microsoft again does very well in the agriculture space. SAP, not sure if you're going to have anything out of the
That's
box.
for HANA, you mean?
I'm not sure if they are going to have anything out of the box, to be honest. Okay, you might get something from partners, but I don't know if they target the agriculture market from their corporate marketing perspective. Oracle is definitely not here in this market. So there are very few solutions that are targeting the agriculture market. And sometimes you are going to find a lot of mom and pop in this space as well, just because of the uniqueness. When you get into, let's say, the poultry farms, poultry agriculture, fishing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very, very unique. Yeah, all of those verticals are very unique. Seafood is very unique as well, by the way.
Or maybe like eggs.
Yes. Eggs. And again, when you are looking at poultry farm, and the eggs is a very different business model than I don't know whether you want to call it as poultry manufacturing. I think that's what they call, to be honest. Okay. I think so. They do call that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they go through the manufacturing process. That's my understanding.
They do, but I just figured it sounded like it'd be more for this type of a product, though.
Poultry, I'm not sure if this is going to be a great fit, because in the case of seafood also there are a lot of nuances there
A lot
in
of
terms of
regulatory compliance, obviously.
regulatory compliances, as well as in these spaces you are also looking for operational integration. So scale integration is very common in general across these spaces, but then you are also looking for the operational technology integration when you have to, let's say, spray the farm, and that is actually going to drive your yield. So sometimes you need to have the inputs. Sometimes, let's say, if you look at the cannabis space, I think they have the serialization of every single tree, because they have to track the whole plant across the processes. So sometimes the whole growing space and the grower space is very unique. I wish Dave were here, because he would be able to talk with a lot more depth. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Andy, if you don't have any other comments, I'll move to the slides.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay, so they have called out the processor ERP software, and I think they are definitely calling that out. When you look at simply food and beverage, that could be misleading. So this is definitely for the food processor manufacturer or distributor. Aptean Food and Beverage ERP bcFood Edition has all the industry specific functionality you need to take your business to the next level, and they are talking about the grower. Now, the uniqueness that you are going to find in this is, number one, the multiple payees for every grower, and that's a very unique capability. You might compare this with, let's say, a grower is going to be what, and a grower could be it's almost like the grant and fund accounting, the way um, your not for profit is going to work, because you are tracking the P&L, I believe, for every grower, and that's why you need to track the payees for each of the grower. So I think that's where the real distinction is. Grower is not going to be a customer. So that's where, I mean, you need these business objects that are going to be part of your ERP data model. Otherwise, this one is not going to work. So here, when you look at the grower accounting, you are looking at track growers, ranches, farms, parks. So 5 dimensions. Okay. So even if you are going to compare all of this, let's say with your entity, locations, branch, then also you are probably going to run out of the options. I can almost guarantee that underneath, I think they have modeled either the locations or the entities to be able to track either whether they are looking for the balance sheet or whatever. That's how they must be doing it. And that's why I think Acumatica does decently well, I would say, in this space. Okay. They are probably not going to have the grower capabilities as part of their data model. Maybe a partner has renamed, relabeled, recreated the tables. I know that they were doing decently okay in the Canvas space. They had the data sheet for the Canvas space, but I don't know how successful they are in that space. So that's where the real differentiation is in the grower accounting. So you have 5 dimensions. You have the growers, ranches, farms, fields, and blocks. So some of them can be tracked using probably dimensions, but I would assume that they are probably 5 different levels of your either balance sheet or the P&L, and depending upon what level of requirements are. And sometimes that those could be driven by the regulatory authorities, and that's where the grower accounting becomes very, very, very complicated. Then you have with related details such as acres and crop years, planting dates. Planting dates is a very unique dimension right there, and I don't know how that is going to correlate with the other dates, financial period. So again, very unique capability. I think Sage X3 is probably going to have this functionality. Otherwise, very few ERP systems can support this out of the box. Harvest dates, again, very operational centric functionality that you are going to require. And I don't know what all financial implications you are going to have with this, but pay attention to that. What is the how the harvest dates move. So very, very unique layers in this particular space. And then you have the crop varieties as well, and that is going to dictate. That's probably going to be very similar to your food families, but then based on the yield. So I think that's almost like a new item class. So very, very, very deep layers in general. You can define multiple pays for every grower. And that almost sounds like as if that's some sort of entity. An entity is going to have multiple vendors, I guess. And then process payments according to payment schedules. So I don't know how involved it gets, to be honest, but it does seem like very, very, very deep, that you require out of the box capabilities supported by the ERP system. If it is going to be some sort of add-on on vanilla ERP, it's probably going to struggle. Then we have bcFood versus Just Food. Grower accounting is where the real differentiation is. The solid foundation of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central does have a lot of layers. For example, the way it does the serial numbers. It has, I guess, 2 or 3 different layers of serial numbers and lot numbers that can coexist for the same product. Again, you require these native capabilities. If you don't have those, it's very hard to just augment that experience in the add-on. Then they have ability to create contract agreements with customers and vendors. And I don't know how deep these contracts are. I think these are commodity contracts. In general, they have very, very complex clauses, the way they work. Okay. They are going to have price hedging. They are going to, they are probably going to be multi-year contract. So yeah, the whole stock market around commodity, I guess, all of those contracts probably are going to be in play here, the way this works. And this is going to be both ways. It's also going to be with the brokers that might be trading with your green exchange. This is also going to be, for the other side of the equation. So again, the contracts are very unique. So pay attention to that. Advanced item traceability features with comprehensive lot control. That seems vanilla in my mind, but the item traceability that you are going to require in this particular space is going to be very different, because again, you have a lot more layers in general of the parties that are going to be involved in that commercial transaction. Okay, so here we have some more commentary. Any comments, Andy?
I don't know. I'm just having a look right now.
Okay. So let me review the commodity receiving. And again, we did not see this piece of functionality in the case of
No.
PC, just food, because this is very unique. So here they are saying create inbound receipts for your commodity inventory. And commodity inventory is very unique. The way commodity inventory works, it's going to have simple things such as your shelf life, but it has a lot more layers than simply doing just the shelf life and the expiration date. I guess those two are most common in the agriculture industry, but it's going to have a lot more layers. Include specific grower, ranch, farm, block, and associated contract values. Now, I have seen terrible ERP implementations in this space. Okay. Some people, they just don't understand how involved these layers could be, how complicated this accounting could be. So what they are going to do, they are simply going to create a field at the item level. Okay, called grower, range, farm, block. That's how they like to implement. Guys, don't do that. Okay, this is a data field. It cannot be handled using your drop downs. If you are going to have a simple drop down, you are probably going to struggle. The model is not going to scale. Okay, it has to be built as part of your data model. So there's a clear differentiation between a customization and the data model itself. Something that needs to be part of data model. If it is not part of that, that typically drives the customization, and those are the customizations that typically fire back, because again, the model is not going to scale. The system enables you to, and again, if you have a rookie implementer, they just don't understand the difference between what needs to be part of the data model versus what can be customized, and they are simply going to just, you can customize anything. System enables you to record way master information, scale out weights. And again, these are very unique piece of functionality where you need to integrate with the weighing scale, because each time you are going to weigh, so there's a similar problem as catch weight as we had discussed last time. But now I have some more commentary on the catch weight as well, in terms of how catch weight works. Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say that, the whole point about scale in and scale out weights is just, usually these companies have very large volumes of these products, and they'll have electronic scales, and when they're delivering them, they'll, weigh it before they dump, and then weigh the truck or the vehicle again after they dump, and then they go look at a ticket, which is the value of that weight in dollars usually.
Yeah, and typically they are going to own the trucks, and this problem exists in the mining industry as well. Okay, when you are going to get, whatever material you are mining, right? When you get that on your truck or tractor, whatever equipment you might be using, so you are going to drive. Nobody has time to sort of go and unload all of that material and then weigh. It doesn't work that way. So it actually goes through the weighing scale process, and weighing scale needs to be integrated as part of your ERP. If it is not, then you are probably going to have issues. So again, these processes are very deeply integrated and involved. If the ERP system does not support these things out of the box, you are probably going to struggle. So scale in, scale out is a very unique functionality that is for the whole yard, I guess. I don't know if yard is the term. I forget, Andy. I don't think they use yard. They use, so in this case, I think it's going to be a farm. On farm, you are going to have a lot of different vehicles that you need to have, and they are probably going to have the weighing scale as well. And then you have the roadside weighing scale that you weigh on. Those are also there, but this is really for your facility. When you are either going to take it out or bring it in, you need to weigh the material, as you leave. What do you call ranch yard? I don't know what they.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the unit of measure.
No, not
bushels.
Yes. But I'm talking about the facility. So in the case of agriculture,
the compound,
where they are going to have the weighing scale, I don't know what they call that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So here they are saying obviously they need to get date and times and then use container chair weights to determine the true net weight of given receipt. And sometimes this is not going to be just the container chair weight. It's also going to be the tractor and the trolley or the truck that you might have. You need to account for all of that as well. And sometimes what they do is they are going to do the weight of the empty tractor, then they are going to load it, and then finally they have to receive the inventory. So it's a fun process right there. But I mean, everything has to be integrated. They cannot do this manually. It's very, very hard.
It's very similar to, like, this is going to sound terrible, but when you go to the dump, right? Well, I know, but
No, Andy. That's not the right comparison.
Very similar. You drive in, they weigh your truck or whatever it is, you dump your dump, whatever that is, and then the how much it weighed is what you have to pay.
Actually, you are right. Yes, you are right.
On the way back out, they weigh you again without an empty truck. So yeah,
yes.
There's
that is
many,
similar.
Yeah, there's many industries that use this process.
Yeah, the only difference is them could be misleading, I guess. So I didn't know which dump you were talking about.
No. I was just talking about the weigh scale and the ticket.
Exactly. Okay, so catch weight. Catch weight is very interesting here. In this particular case as well, the catch weight is going to be important, and we have far more commentary on the catch weight in how this product is going to be dealing. Every catch weight situation is going to be different as well. So here they are saying maintain your inventory records according to 2 units of measure, making it possible to capture the exact weights of your random weight items. And random weight items is the term that they had used last time as well when we were talking about meat cuts. Every item is going to be very unique in its configuration. Exactly. So that's what makes it random, but they need to get the exact weight if they cannot get that. And this weighing scale is going to be as part of your production process, and each item needs to be measured and the weight need to be accounted. So by the way, weight is also you need to have weight as part of your item master. If you don't have that built as part of your ERP system, you are probably going to struggle. If you are going to have a custom field called weight, it's not going to work because weight is a different layer altogether, the way it impacts every single process out there. So be careful when you are deciding, what to customize, what not to customize. There are always going to be implications of whatever decisions you are going to make in the ERP system. Some things are easier to be able to customize. The other things can fire back pretty bad. You have no idea how bad they fire back. Especially for these industries, the accounting and the compliance requirements are so deep that you need to be really careful with the customizations. With the system, you can also handle and process items according to one unit, but cost and price them by the other. So this is very unique standard functionality that you're going to find in a lot of different ERP systems. They can support 3 different UOM, so that should be okay. But the other things such as weight is probably going to be trickier in general. But here they are talking about price by the pound. Again, you can probably do that in a lot of different ERP systems. They all support 3 layers at least, at the item master level. Decent size ones, not the basic ones, obviously.
Yes.
They are probably not going to have a SKU. The basic, just text field. That's your SKU. Okay, so here then we have some more commentary on catch weight. So catch weight, also known as variable weight, so we have seen a lot of different terms used for catch weight, is the exact weight of an individual food item. The most frequent application is in the case of products that vary in weight on a case-by-case basis, such as meats, blocks of cheese, fruits, and vegetables. Yes, that's right. These items are frequently sold in bulk and always priced by their weight. Again, you can read between the lines. You might say that, my standard ERP system that has 3 different UOMs can probably handle this. No, catch weight is different. Catch weight needs to be supported natively, part of the product. If it does not have that, that's probably going to be a critical success factor for your implementation.
Yeah, it's a roadblock right there.
Exactly. So even if you don't have the fancy mobile functionality, you might be okay. But if you don't have catch weight, good luck with that implementation. Priced by their weight rather than by discrete unit of measure. Steaks are good example, as the price depends on how much the actual piece of meat weighs, as opposed to it being quantifiable as a single steak. And again, I don't think they describe it well, to be honest. I mean, it's slightly deeper than this, how they are trying to describe. If it is going to be simply the unit of measure conversion, then it's still easier. But catch weight is far more than that, because you have to account for the weight loss, etc. That's when it has a lot of complications. And obviously, you need to weigh each of the item, and that need to be recorded as part of your inventory and the item master. So each time you are going to weigh, you are going to have a lot of different variances that are going to be kicking in. So good luck with the transaction volume right there. One could also consider the cases of two different packages of chicken wings to further illustrate the idea, because they are irregular in size and shape and vary based on how the chicken is cut and packaged after slaughter. Two packages with the same number of pieces could contain different amounts of chicken as determined by weight. The prices of those packages must therefore reflect that difference. Again, I think they have very simplified version of catch weight. In my mind, catch weight is even more complicated than how they are describing. And sometimes, this is probably a marketing speak. They don't want to reveal all of the details, otherwise you'll get confused. And they are giving an example that, in boxing, and this is very similar to your example, Andy. They are weighing before the wrestling and after the wrestling, I guess, to make sure that they are going to be at the same level. Otherwise, it's probably, I don't know if there are any legal requirements, but they need to be at the same weight. And I think I don't know if you experience weight loss while fighting. There could be a possibility, because obviously
they do. They
do.
lose 5 to 10 pounds in a ring. Yeah.
In a ring? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So yeah, that's the real problem with catch weight, because you are losing the weight and they need to be in the tolerance range.
To be in that weight class.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise you cannot fight. Or they are probably going to be penalized as well. And that's why they have to measure that. So this is the similar analogy for this one as well. Again, that's a very complicated process. Here, then we have some more commentary. So here they are saying ERP systems and help food businesses manage and price their variable weight products with several key catch weight management functionalities. The unified databases offered by these systems make logging the weight of your goods much easier and ensure that figure remains tied to the item throughout its supply chain journey. And that's another challenge. I think the weight has to be part of your item master as the item is moving through your supply chain, because then you have to have the reconciliation between your vendors as well, because there's going to be a back and forth argument there, in terms of what ways, who's paying for what. And if there is going to be moisture loss, then it's not a fun process in general. Here they are talking about advanced platforms like Aptean's meat, seafood, and poultry ERP can even automate the weighing process by syncing with connected scales in your facilities, removing the chances of human error and relieving your employees of a tedious manual task. This process of data capture also lets your staff catch anomalies that are outside the acceptable range. So obviously they have the tolerances as well as the acceptable range, but that's always not going to work, because depending upon the moisture loss that you might be experiencing for a given product, and thereby can't be sold in that format. A cut off pork that was simply cut too small to be sold as a pork chop, for instance, can be removed from that line and repurposed for another. So there is a little, what is that called? And the remanufacturing process, I guess, right? When you have to send the same product to the line again.
Rework.
Sorry, yeah, rework. So they have a little rework process going on there. They are saying repurpose for another. But then if you are going to have the rework process, then you have to probably create a work order depending upon how they are handling and how sophisticated their data model is. If they are going to have a little rework process, then you have to account for the inventory that is actually going to the back of the line, and then you have to go through the quality process as well, whether that can be reutilized for the rework or not. So again, this could get very complicated in general, depending upon how you have handled it and what support you have as part of the ERP system. Very, very, very complicated. And by the way, this is not a batch. This is the individual piece. Can you believe this? Okay, so you are releasing on a batch basis, but then you have to account and weigh on a piece by piece basis. That's a lot of work.
Well, if you think about going to the butcher store, every piece of steak is going to be a different price depending upon the weight.
Exactly. That's a lot of work, and if you have to go through 5 screens of ERP to be able to do that, good luck with that.
No, they're not going to like that.
Yeah, then beef is going to be very expensive that we are not going to eat, I guess.
No, it's going to start to go bad by the time you sell it.
Yeah. So some more comments here. Users can make adjustments to the tolerance percentage to fine tune the step further as well. So they can sort of fine tune those percentages, but still, that's a very involved process. Selling by the pound as opposed to by the case. Case is always going to be the easy. Weight is always very challenging in that. Okay, some more commentary here. Recipe management here. This is also very interesting compared to just food. So here we have batch and lot, sizes, scrap, percentages, anticipated losses. So when you are going to have the yield percentages as well as anticipated losses, that's easy to handle. And that is going to be part of a lot of different discrete manufacturing processes as well, because you are always going to have some sort of loss. Even if your, let's say, meat is going through your production line, you are releasing batches, just the loss that you are going to have inside the machine itself, it can be accounted as your anticipated losses, because you are always going to have the meat, let's say, that is getting glued as part of your machine that you cannot take out. That is going to be part of your cleaning process. So that's easy math. But when you are looking at catch weight, it's really problematic in general. Here they are talking about standard batch and lot sizes, as well as scrap percentages and other anticipated losses, empowering you to achieve greater accuracy in forecasting production output quantities. Then we have lot traceability. Here they are saying you exactly where. So the material traceability and the lot traceability is going to be important as well. The linking that you need is going to be at the lot level. It's not going to be just at the item level. So that's very unique requirement as well. And that we are going to see on these screens too. So here they are saying where your material came from, how they were used in your facilities, and what was shipped to your customers. Segment customers related to a lot trace, granting you quick access to the people you need to contact in the event of a recall. That's where your lot traceability is going to be. Not very many ERP systems can support the lot traceability. You need to have fields at the lot level as opposed to at the item level or at the item class level. Lot is a different classification. Lot is a group that is a very unique group that is designed for your external audience. So you need to have the lot to lot traceability, meaning you need to store your customer's lot number, you need to store your vendor's lot number, then only you can establish the traceability. If you are going to be mixing the data hierarchy, then your traceability is not going to work.
So you think not many systems have lot traceability?
Depending upon the system in which industry they are used, not a lot of systems can do that. Some don't necessarily store, and you will see those on the screens as well. Andy, when you require lot traceability, you need to have linking between your lot, internal, external, customer, vendor. Those 4 need to have correlation at the same level. You can't correlate, let's say, some systems have the item and the vendor cross-reference. Vendor cross-reference is not enough for this. Okay, you need to have lot-to-lot traceability.
That's not even in relation. That's completely different functionality. No.
Yeah. So vendor cross-reference, vendor cross-reference is used for the traceability as well. The whole idea of vendor cross-reference.
Not really. The vendor cross-reference is just to be able to know who your vendors were and what they're calling the items. The traceability is the delivery from the vendor, the specific lot of product, which could be a series of products, but it's all one lot. And then as that lot's dispersed into different production runs, out through the shop to the customer, so you have full cradle to grave for recall traceability. You know where the vendor, where when you have a recall from a customer, you know which lot the vendor it came from.
Exactly. And by the way, I mean, if you are going to have a 3PL involved, it becomes even more complicated, to be honest.
Another layer.
Because number one, they are not going to have access to your system. They are not going to be receiving in your system. They are going to have a lot number, but then your traceability is going to be lost because you have already lost that link.
You have to rely on them.
Exactly. Unless if they are opening the package, if they are not opening the package, if the lot number is going to be on part of the package and they are simply sending whatever they have received, then it's a different case. But typically they are going to have their own storage requirement and pricing. For that, they have to repackage it. Otherwise, they are not going to work with you. So it becomes very interesting when you are dealing with 3PL. Okay. So here, hold management. Hold management is very unique in this space as well. Okay, these are very specific pieces of functionality. Sometimes companies bundle that as part of your quality management process. But here, these are not just the reason codes. You are going to have a real hold as part of your recall process, and you need to designate the items in your warehouse as the held items. It's not going to be just you have a warehouse area where you have kept a bunch of held items. I don't think that's going to work, because you have to have the hold reason codes that goes through a different QC process. So hold management is a very unique as well. Here you are going to have the hold tags for each of the lot records. So again, the traceability is very complex the way this works. And we have the item allergens, and here we have the assign them to your raw material. Again, very, very, very unique functionality in general. I think this was part of your Just Food as well. I don't think there's going to be much difference in this piece of functionality. It's just that, you have to have that as part of your ERP system, or this is going to struggle as well. Yeah. Now, global trade, very unique. Okay, if you have global trade requirements, make sure it is supported by your ERP system. It's very, very involved piece of functionality. In this, you are tracking the entire supply chain, because you need to track the global compliance, and sometimes even printing the documentation could be very, very difficult. Okay, and if you are using some sort of WMS TMS, typically your global trade functionality is going to reside there, so your integration could be extremely tricky as well in terms of which system is doing what, and how the handshake is going to work between those two systems. So here you are talking about record international shipments. So again, typically in the ERP boundaries, you don't necessarily record the international shipments. Again, if you are a very large shop and you have very large international presence, for the most part, most guys, even if they have to track the international shipments, they track as the virtual warehouse inside the ERP system. That's how they track. But that is just a shortcut. It's just a workaround. Okay, when you have to get into the trade compliance issues where you cannot release certain materials in a certain country, that's a very involved and deep process. Okay, that has to be supported by the system itself. So here they are talking about maintain shipping containers, their contents. Okay, so that the whole process itself is like its own ERP, to be honest, the way this functionality is. And their contents, delivery schedules, completion dates, and more generate critical documentation such as port schedules. Okay, this schedule is going to be similar to your production schedule or the field service schedule. Okay, so you are generating this schedule for the whole port, depending upon how you are packing that. So you need to support the whole scheduling process. Again, very, very, very deep and complex functionality. License plating, not many ERP systems support that. So license plating is going to be very common as well. Some systems have this built as part of the system itself. For example, let's say if you look at the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, it is designed for very complex distribution shops. So it does have the license plating, the bin functionality, very, very, very deep layers of that. If a system is not going to be designed for distribution, they don't even have all of this. Okay, manufacturers don't need this. Okay, but distributors,
sometimes,
they most certainly.
Not usually.
Yeah.
This is warehouse management functionality.
Exactly. But I mean, their warehousing needs are not going to be as complex as the distributor, because for distributors, the margins are very thin and they have to scan the whole pallet. For manufacturers, they are probably shipping one a day. Let's say if they are delivering complex machinery.
Yeah, you're right, but it depends. Some manufacturers are hybrid manufacturer wholesalers, right? So they got warehouses and such too. But in generally speaking, you're right. License plating is very WMS centric functionality.
Exactly, and that becomes very complex when you are going to be a distributor as well as a manufacturer. And if you have any other business model, such as your construction, good luck with that ERP implementation.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with finding something that does all three.
Yeah, I mean, you are looking at really big ERP system, and they become very expensive because they are not going to have the last mile functionality in general.
That's correct.
But you are only looking at the bigger ones. Here, then we have the scale integration. Scale integration is provided out of the box, which is big deal. By the way, in the scale, you have the compliance. You have the compliance at the state level. So that's another, curveball right there. That it's not going to be just random technical integration. You need to comply with it, and you are probably going to, when you have any sort of compliance, you are looking at the reconciliation model as well as reporting to those state agencies. And again, anytime you have any sort of reporting, that becomes very complex process in general as part of ERP, and that has to be part of your ERP. Otherwise, you are probably going to struggle. So again, very unique piece of functionality. Billbacks are very unique as well. We have not come across billbacks. Billbacks are very common when you are going to have very complex distribution, channel where you have the trade promotion, and the whole trade promotion capabilities are very complex. You are going to have this functionality in the HVAC distribution space. You are going to have this functionality in the electrical distribution space. But then this also exists in your FMCG food distribution space as well. The more traditional the industry, the more trade promotions they are probably going to have. And those hierarchies that you have as part of your trade promotion, that could become very complex as well. You have multi-level promotions, rebates, broker commissions, payables, royalties, billbacks. Very, 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 very hard to handle. And this is where your lines between your CPQ, CRM, e-commerce, as well as ERP. Good luck with that integration, because it's a lot of handshake there when you are going to be incorporating this functionality across the systems. We don't have any comments. Andy, any comments?
No.
Okay, so let's look at some of the screens. So this is where we are looking at the BOM, and this is your recipe BOM. Okay, so here we have some very unique piece of functionality, and some of them are going to be drop downs. So for example, and anytime you see a drop down, unique drop down, in general, that could be slightly easier to customize. But if you are going to have a data field that is incorporated as part of your data model, that is typically much harder to incorporate as part of your ERP implementation in general. So here we are looking at batch. When you look at the batch is part of your data model. Okay, you are releasing based on batch. You are using batch as part of your whole computation. So that's another data layer that you need to have as part of your ERP. If you don't have that, you are probably going to struggle with the batch process. So you have 3 layers there as part of batch. This is the grouping. So you have the size, you have unit of measure. So it's almost like translation of unit of measure. But again, it's far more than that, because you are going to have the yield percentages. And again, depending upon the complexity of your batch, you are going to require very unique capabilities. So this is where you don't want to customize these things. You want to make sure that you at least have the batch capability supported as part of your ERP system. Otherwise, you'll probably struggle with this. You have the versions. Version number, again, version is a very unique layer. Okay, so you might find, let's say, the revision, and there is a difference between your revision and version. And we saw that in the case of Just Food. They follow different life cycles. So you need to make sure both are supported as part of your recipe. Then you have the variant code. So you have the inventory, you have the matrix inventory, and then you have the versions. So again, very, very, very deep layers. It's a very complex inventory, and make sure you have support for all of this. Again, bcFood has done a wonderful job in supporting, number one, the matrix inventory, because in this space you are going to have the matrix inventory, but then you are going to have versions from your production perspective, from your engineering, from your product management perspective. So you need to incorporate both of those as part of your product model. Andy, any comments?
No.
Okay, so this is where the lot traceability I was talking about, Andy. This is how the lot traceability looks. Okay, so this is the lot number level. This is not item, this is lot number. So you have the item number. For the item number you have the variant code, and for that variant code you have the lot number as well. Okay, so this lot number is correlated with the vendor lot number. Then it is also correlated with the external lot number. So you might have an internal lot number, but then you might have an external lot number. So these are two lot numbers at the same level, just with you. Okay, then you have the customer lot number. So you have 4 levels of hierarchy right there at the lot number level, and I don't know how many ERP system can support this functionality at the lot number level, because they are probably not going to have even the lot management screen. They might have the item class, but they might not have the lot management screen. So here we are talking about hold reason code. Hold is at the lot level as well, and you have the hold reason code list. So you need all of these layers. If you don't have this, then you will lose with your traceability. So again, very, very unique piece of functionality. Again, the your mobile functionality is probably going to be clunky, as you can see on the screen. I don't know if that has been modernized. It's fairly basic as well in general. Slightly more busier shops, they are probably going to require a specialized WMS. But for the most part, what you should be looking in your ERP are going to be the layers that need to be supported by the ERP. If you don't have those layers, even your WMS integration is not going to work. Okay, so make sure you have at least the lot traceability as part of your ERP system. You have the version number, you have the weight. If you don't have that, then you are going to struggle. Unless you are using ERP only for financial reporting, then it's a different case. Here we have the license plates. The grower accounting is a completely different module that they have built on top of the vanilla ERP. And in general, BC is a very friendly ERP for food and beverage distribution. But on top of that, they had to build the grower accounting functionality. So think of the layers that you are going to be needing for this. Global trade is a unique piece of functionality. That's a separate module on top of the existing functionality. So obviously you require a lot more layers there as well. And it has its own setup. So very complicated. Then this is your sort of the TMS functionality. If you are keeping the TMS capabilities as part of your ERP, depending upon how you have designed your processes, some companies cannot do this because they have to have 3PL. They have to have, if they have 3PL as part of their business model, sometimes that need to reside as part of your WMS, TMS, OMS layer, depending upon your business model. Some companies might be able to keep this as part of the ERP. So again, your business model is going to drive your architecture, and your architecture is going to dictate whether this is going to be part of your ERP or is it going to be part of your WMS. But here you are mapping the real truck. Okay, so these trucks are going to be very similar to your warehouses, and you are counting the inventory on each of those trucks you are going to be releasing. You are going to be scheduling. And the reason why some companies may have to have this as part of ERP is when they are printing the schedules from the ERP itself. Let's say if you want to do the trade compliance or the porter schedule, you will not be able to do that if you are going to use a WMS system. It could be trickier to do it from there, because then you are going to get into the financial compliance as well. So is WMS going to do your financial compliance? Good luck with that. Okay, some reviews. Andy, you have commented. We have 5 minutes right now. We can cover some reviews, or maybe I just have one, I guess.
Let's have
just one.
Reviews. Oh, there's just one? Okay.
Yeah, just one. So here we don't have any reviews, can you believe this, for this product? So I don't know how to basically read this. Obviously this is a very well known product. I know this product personally, but I'm actually shocked that it does not have any reviews. So I don't know if it is because of the limited number of installations, or people have not just reviewed. But for the most part, you are not going to find any reviews for this product, pre-acquisition, post-acquisition. So here in this particular case, this is a freelance writer is reviewing. So obviously this cannot be trusted. Okay, not sure if this is a paid one. Why would a freelance writer write a review? I don't get it. And yeah, again, not very meaningful. So
Well, he's probably a sales consultant. Isn't that interesting?
where do you see that?
Well, his title is sales consultant, and title of the.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting as well. I don't know. Yes, and
They're under 1,000. A freelance writer. That's where. Okay, that's what he is.
so he is freelance writer, but then he's a sales consultant, and he's
Yeah.
saying as a sales consultant. I
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on there.
And it's about less than 1,000 employees, so it must be a customer of his.
Greater than 1,000 employees. So it's
greater than.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not less.
geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely big for this kind of product.
Yeah.
But BC has been installed for very large installations, so maybe it is okay.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, I can take your comments. We have 3 minutes.
Well, like you've said it all. I mean, this system has got some very unique functionality, especially in the growing industry, and it's not just vegetables and things like that, but it can be, like we talked about, possibly even animals growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's got a lot of very unique functionality. I can see it's very targeted. Sometimes when you have very targeted products, the depth is not there, but it's reliant on the BC products, so it doesn't need to have the depth.
So when you are looking at the targeted products, sometimes they are actually going to have a lot more depth in general in terms of the features that they are going to support. So if you're looking at mom and pop,
unique features, yeah,
exactly, uniquely designed for that industry. But if you are going to do anything outside of that, and if you're looking for customization, diverse business model, then they cannot support.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other comments, Andy?
Well, anything that's industry specific. There's lots of systems in every industry out there, and they'll always have functionality that's very unique for that specific industry, so it catches that audience right away. But commonly, the breadth isn't there.
Exactly. And Andy, based on my personal experiences, I'll tell you some stories, okay? So in some cases, you probably want to have the industry tailored product. And these are the businesses, let's say if you're going to have, you are going to be roughly less than $1 million in revenue. You are probably
small.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, they probably need some sort of ERP system, to be honest, okay, to manage their processes.
It's something
they
very
look
simple.
for. So they care for the tailored experience, and the reason for that is because they don't even know how to design their SKUs.
No,
they don't even know how to design their bombs.
They only know how to make stuff or sell stuff.
Exactly. So they need to see, okay, fish 500 grams. How do I incorporate that as part of your ERP? That's so that's why sometimes these industry specific products could be very handy for these founders who cannot afford a CFO or accountant or a consultant so far. But that can only take you until $5-10 million, not after that. Okay, amazing. Any other comments, Andy?
No.
All right, guys. So that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another topic. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sam.
Of course. Thanks, Andy.